About 6 months later, we were approached by, we met with the PayPal team when they came here for a remittance money transfer conference hosted by M-Pesa. We reached out to them and we were thinking, okay, we're just a small company, no one will care about us. But we told them we're the only digital remittance company in Kenya. They were like, what? They were so ready to work with us, even though we were such a small company. The best part about that is, I think it was about 2 years later when COVID hit. Again, through PayPal, we were like the only digital remittance company for their ecosystem, and other money transfer companies, when their branch networks were closed, we were the only one who could have a channel that can move money from outside Africa into Africa. Our business grew like 400% in 6 months. I was in UK. I went to a university called the University of Kent. And just during the holiday period after graduating, I had a sales job. So my first job was selling windows and doors to people who have houses that might need upgrades on their windows and doors. I remember the company was called Anglian. I think it was one of the largest home improvement companies in Europe. I grew from that, from a sales officer to a sales manager to a regional manager. But that just helped me understand, like, for example, we used to do sales during winter. At 6 p.m. it's dark. You're going to some villages somewhere in England, knocking on people's doors, and it's dark, and they open, they see a black person, they're like, hey, what does this person want from me?
Africa's blockchain landscape is rapidly evolving as entrepreneurs like Trevor Kimani leverage it to tackle local challenges. Trevor, after studying in the UK, returned to Africa to launch Alpha Block.
So in 2019, it was 2019 November, my co-founder came to me. He came to tell me that he has designed a blockchain platform made for investments. He's someone I've worked with before. His name is John Bui. And we had seen the opportunity of investing in real estate, because when it comes to fractionalization and reducing the entry barriers, real estate is a really big asset class that very few people have access to. So we both had the similar experience. For me, it was during COVID when I had extra savings and I wanted to buy real estate. We all know real estate is one of the best asset classes to invest in. And yet, after having so much more savings, I still could not invest in real estate. I'm like, wait a minute, what does that mean? What does that really mean about those people who can actually buy real estate? Real estate is expensive. So it means that even if you have been working hard to save your money, you're still so far off from being able to buy real estate. And the problem is pretty, everyone feels the same way about being able to access this real estate, this asset class. But the solution is actually very simple. Just break down the value of that asset. If it's 10 million, make it into 10,000. Each 10,000 shillings represents a share of the asset. Then you can invest in real estate. So I realized that why are we doing this with companies for stocks? Why are we doing this for, even Bitcoin is fractionalized as in sats. Why can't that be done with real estate? And that's how I realized that this can be a really good way to provide the non-traditional real estate investor to access this asset class. Yeah.
Prior to Alpha Block, Trevor witnessed the disruptive impact of decentralized finance, DeFi, on the fintech industry.
I've been in the fintech industry as an entrepreneur for now 12 years. Yes. And being in the fintech industry, if you have noticed about cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, most of it has to do with financial assets. The use cases have been to do with cryptocurrencies specifically. One of my companies is called Upesi Money Transfer. It's a money transfer company, meaning you can send money from one country to another in as little as 4 seconds using a mobile app. And when I learned about blockchain technology, the first thing that I read about blockchain is that it is going to disrupt the remittance industry by making sending money across borders free and instant. So I'm like, what is this technology that is going to disrupt this industry that I'm participating in? Then I got to learn more about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies and how they work. And I came to realize that this is actually one of the biggest innovations around the financial services industry that has come. And having been in the fintech industry for over a decade, I watched how the digital lenders came in, disrupting the microfinances. I watched how now, as a digital remittance company, we're disrupting the traditional forex bureaus and MoneyGram and Western Union, who are using branches. And here we are again with another technology that's about to change everything: lending, remittances, payments, investments. And I couldn't ignore it. Not just the fact that Bitcoin seems to be something that is so interesting because it's allowing, or else divorcing, government from money, enabling an environment to be where the government cannot control money. And if we go into details, you start understanding that this is the reason why building wealth has been so difficult, especially for those people who don't own assets. Inflation has been one of the key drivers for reducing or increasing the wealth gap. And Bitcoin solves this problem. So seeing this as a use case, I was very curious to see how I, as an entrepreneur, can make use of that to actually bring value to the rest of the world from using my fintech experience.
Trevor's fintech journey has predominantly focused on remittance services.
So I started my entrepreneurship career with a company called Ngal Credit. Came into the company when there were about, I think, 13 employees. And then as we grew the business, I grew with the business. But something interesting happened. World Remit, which was actually the first digital remittance company in the world, approached us and said, we would like to partner with Ngal Credit to enable our money transfer from Europe to come into Kenya. So we were an agent of World Remit. This helped us understand, yes, we already had a good understanding of microfinance, but it also helped us understand remittances. So this business grew like 400% in 1 year. Actually, it was, within 1 year, it grew 400%. We were just processing transactions on behalf of a partner. So we're like, this remittance thing, what is it? Why is it growing so much? So we learned about migration, how people go for greener pastures, and why they need to send money back home. As people were sending money back home, and we had built this remittance money transfer and engine, the technology for it, we saw how this can also be applicable in the payments ecosystems. So people who are selling things online need a way to accept payments. So then we also built a company called SwitchLink Africa. This helped us evolve my fintech experience, because we had come from a traditional microfinance to a digital remittance to a digital payments company. So I was the deputy group CEO for the group, learning a lot about how to reduce the entry barriers for financial services, financial inclusion. And then that's when I got to learn about blockchain technology and how it's going to change the whole financial landscape. Blockchain technology, however, has been plagued with fraud and a lot of misunderstandings on what it actually does. And so regulations are not very open to it. A lot of traditional finance players don't understand it. So as my business is continuing, the group is called Anvil Shield Holdings. I decided to start Alpha Block and focus on Alpha Block so that I can now sort of lead the way and educate the market and show that actually blockchain technology is not about Ponzi schemes and cryptocurrencies alone. It's actually about way more than just cryptocurrencies. And that's how we're making use of blockchain for investments and wealth.
Understanding tokenization can be complex for those unfamiliar with the Web3 space.
So, in learning about blockchain, we came to understand what tokenization is. And tokenization is actually quite simple. I think the problem with the blockchain industry is that we use terminologies that make things sound so clever. But at the end of the day, tokenization is almost exactly the same thing, especially in the real estate context. Tokenization is almost exactly the same thing as a share. So it means you take this asset, it could be a house, it could be a company, it could be a bond, it could be even a farm, but you make that asset, or you change the value of the asset into shares. So tokenization is simply the securitization or making something that is in the real world, like real estate, into shares. The reason why it's called tokenization is because these shares are on the blockchain. And the blockchain then ends up giving way more better value propositions around it. For example, because all the data is collected on the asset and collected on the blockchain, all that information is embedded into the token. That allows you to make very easy digital loans using your real estate as an asset, or your farm as an asset, or your bond as an asset. So tokenization just is a fancy word for shares, but the technology brings so many efficiencies in designing interesting financial products around that asset. And basically that's what AlphaBlock does.
Despite studying business in college, Trevor found entrepreneurship to be largely unexplored in his coursework.
Yeah, when it came to school, I remember in high school, I was really torn. I've always been someone who was interested in sports and physical type of activities, especially extreme sports. I love extreme sports, but there's no money there. So I knew if I'm going to, and actually now there is. I didn't see that there was that opportunity. So I thought, what can I do in campus that will give me a broad base of knowledge, because I don't know what I want to do. So I need to just have a broad base of knowledge so that whatever it is I want to do, I have the skills. That's why I chose business. So I actually did business administration, and I learned, in fact, the things I learned in my business administration course helped me understand how to structure a business, how to think through strategically on how to run a business, how to start a business. But it barely taught me anything on entrepreneurship. I believe entrepreneurship is something you just learn by doing. But I also ended up doing a global executive MBA at USIU, which was basically designed for someone who's thinking on entrepreneurship, but building a global business. So using my business knowledge, I was able to think through how to structure executing the business, but the entrepreneurship knowledge is actually how I've been able to start businesses and grow these businesses.
Trevor gained valuable insights while studying and working in the UK, providing a unique lens to address Africa's challenges.
So actually, I did for university. I was in UK. I went to a university called the University of Kent, and when I just during the holiday period after graduating, I had a sales job. So my first job was selling windows and doors to people who have houses that might need upgrades on their windows and doors. I remember the company was called Anglian. I think it was one of the largest home improvement companies in Europe. I grew from that, from a sales officer to a sales manager to a regional manager. But that just helped me understand. Like, for example, we used to do sales during winter. At 6 p.m. it's dark. You're going to some villages somewhere in England, knocking on people's doors, and it's dark, and they open, they see a black person, they're like, hey, what does this person want from me? So it was hard, but at least I learned perseverance. I mean, the main thing was that if you just hit many doors, you get more sales. I remember just looking for opportunities, because in Europe, most of the things, well, at least from my perspective, I was like, okay, everything has been solved. So all these are business opportunities for Africa. Then when I started my job doing sales for home improvement assets like doors and windows, the people I was working with, I realized that actually we don't have like different knowledge. We all have the same understanding. So the only thing is that maybe on the continent, we've not yet gotten the opportunity to execute these new business or these different business ideas. So what it really taught me was to be confident that whatever you want to achieve, even if you want to build a company like Google, you have all the skills you need. You have all the resources you need. You don't have to go to Europe to go and learn how Google was built. You just have to understand what problem you're solving and solve that problem really well. And that's one thing that I really, I'm happy that I got to learn, because it really boosted my confidence in the fact that actually we are capable, as Africans, we are capable of building billion-dollar businesses. We are actually capable of building global businesses. And for my opinion, we're capable of building businesses to compete with Google and Facebook and Microsoft and all these giants that we know of. It just takes time. But actually, for Africans, this is our time.
Before incorporating technology in remittance payment, handling transactions was mundane and time-consuming. But when they did, they ended up partnering with companies like PayPal.
Yeah, I mean, so we're talking about 12 years ago. This is a traditional business. And even the banks, till today, they're still like this. You go to a branch, you fill in a piece of paper. That piece of paper moves from stage to stage to stage for approval, and then you get your money. That's how we used to do. That is how we used to do lending. And then when you got the partnership from World Remit, and World Remit was saying, remember, it's a digital remittances company. They are digitized in Europe and they send money to Africa. Us, we are supporting for Kenya. When we're doing the money transfer transactions, we were using the same process. We're saying someone has to do a requisition, someone has to review the requisition, then someone has to approve the requisition. But they were asking us to ensure that, number one, transactions are 24/7. So we used to have people working night shift. So we wake up, there's a transaction on email. You go to your email, you go fill in the transaction details, you go put in the transaction details onto online banking, then that piece of paper takes to the authorizer at midnight. Then as the business grew, we needed more and more people to be able to solve this problem. Remember, they were asked for 24/7 service, whether it's morning, afternoon, 9 p.m., 3 a.m., and from some parts of the world, their lunchtime is our 3 p.m. So we had to solve them and deliver this service to maintain that business. So we're like, this doesn't make sense. How are we going to? That means we have two shifts, people working in the night, people working in the day, but so many people. In fact, I visualized, I was like, when in this company that they're doing all these volumes around the world, doesn't mean they have floors of people sitting on their desk putting in details. That's when you realize that actually technology can solve that problem. And that's how we first took our steps to building a technology-based payments and money transfer company. The process was interesting because we were having to learn how to build technology. The first step we took was, should we buy some technology? We quickly learned that when you buy technology, it might not fit for your business. Spent a lot of money, didn't get the value there. Then we decided to recruit our own developers, recruit our own engineers, our product team to build the technology that can solve that problem of people walking into the office, making transactions, midnight, people are saying that there's a transaction that needs to be paid. All of that now ended up being automated. The best part about it was about 6 months later, we were approached we met with the PayPal team when they came here for a remittance money transfer conference hosted by M-Pesa. We reached out to them and we were thinking, okay, we're just a small company, no one will care about us. But we told them we're the only digital remittance company in Kenya. They were like, what? They were so ready to work with us, even though we were such a small company. The best part about that is, I think it was about 2 years later when COVID hit. Again, through PayPal, we were like the only digital remittance company for their ecosystem, and other money transfer companies, when their branch networks were closed, we were the only one who could have a channel that can move money from outside Africa into Africa. Our business grew like 400% in 6 months. Now you can imagine if we still had people writing pieces of paper and all that, we would not have been able to serve those customers. But because we were able to build the technology, automate everything, we were able to maintain a lean team, but the system was able to do all the work. And that's how we started to learn about technology and the value that it can bring from an efficiency perspective. Yes.
In conclusion, Trevor Kimani's entrepreneurial journey, shaped by challenges encountered in the real estate investment and his fintech expertise, has inspired the visionary mission of AlphaBlock to revolutionize African real estate through blockchain technology. By integrating blockchain into real estate transactions, AlphaBlock aims to enhance transparency, efficiency, and accessibility within the industry, driving positive transformative impact across Africa's real estate landscape. Trevor's innovative vision exemplifies the potential of blockchain to catalyze economic development and reshape traditional sectors for the betterment of African communities.